Hey everyone, this is the Kubeflow Notebooks meeting for the 11th of December 2025. As usual, if you are new to Kubeflow Notebooks, we're doing a version 2. Version 1 still exists and is quite popular, but version 2 is going to be a lot better, and we've all been working on it for a long time. The original, it's not actually the original, but an issue from a long time ago that you can read about it, which we update the FAQ about what's happening, is here. You can find it from the pinned issues with the repo as well. It's also now linked. We've updated the README, and this is one thing I just want to highlight as well. The README now makes it much more clear that there is two branches, and there might even be three in the future. One for what is it called? Notebook images. In this repo, so users who come to main might. We, at some point, we could discuss making the default branch not main, but the danger with doing that is it changes the meaning of the GitHub actions in that branch. So my hope is to make Notebooks v2 the default, uh, but that probably isn't going to happen straight away until it's released, obviously. But I definitely don't want to make v1 the default. We could, I guess. We could, yeah. I wish I could change the one that has the meaning in GitHub Actions without changing the default. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of like so. What I mean is keep this main as having the meaning special GitHub Actions so that people see the commit. Oh, but then I don't want them to see the commits of v1. Whatever. Okay. So if you now go here, tell people to make sure that they click on one of the relative branches. So if you go to v2, you can now see that there's a little bit of information that's different here, saying that it's not released. You know, please see this issue. We're going to be fixing that in the next few days to say here's a development version. One other thing, and we should, if someone wants to make a quick PR into the website and get it merged quickly, I can approve it. Which is that we've changed the tagline of Kubeflow notebooks just to be a bit more clear from based off what we talked at KubeCon to people about, which is like again, we want to focus on the fact that it uses Kubernetes, but not how it uses Kubernetes, because especially as Notebooks 2.0 does different things, we don't want to talk about pods or other things. It's about running these again, and people feel free to suggest other wordings if you've got other ideas. But I think this is just much better than what we had before. You can compare it. So the place we need to update on the website is these overview pages, even before we do Notebooks 2.0 release. I just think that we should probably take a lot of what is said on the README. These wordings are better. Namely, it's that Kubeflow Notebooks runs interactive development environments. We don't abbreviate it to IDEs because that's confusing to people for AI, ML, and data workloads on Kubernetes. Whereas the old one was a bit more saying, you know, you run web-based development environments. That's not strictly true anymore for Notebooks 2.0. SSH is supported. Other complex things are supported. And it doesn't always use pods. So like these are I think this is just a more succinct one-liner explanation. Any discussions about that? We just or ideas? Anyone want to raise that PR on here? I think there may be one or two other places, like maybe the homepage as well. Yes, yes. So let's make that note. Notebooks overview page, home page. Cool.
If you want, I can create a quick PR
Yeah,
for
yeah, yeah, yeah.
this.
Anyone can do it. Yeah, it's an easy way to get a PR merged as well, if you want. Um, oh, there we go.
So only two pages needs updation, the overview and the main homepage, right?
Yep, the homepage one always gets more debate whenever you touch it, but the but I can approve this one if you know what I mean. But I can't approve the homepage one. No one can really. It's always a vote.
Okay, so it will be a two separate ones since the
Yeah, let's do it two separate ones. This one will get merged quickly, whereas you could do both. I mean, it's if if we ask Andre, he'll approve it. I think so. We can probably see that. Uh, Yeah, just one PS fine. Yeah, that's cool. And so and this part is more of a separate question. Probably just take this exactly, almost. You know what I mean? Like it's pretty much
Hmm.
the same, but it's just slightly better wording. Or if you think there's better wording, tell us. But other than that, one other thing we changed just for people who are contributing, um, we no longer do scopes, we do automatic labeling. So just use these prefixes in your commits, please. Don't use scopes. I didn't actually say no scopes, but the bot will reject you if you do. We should probably say that to save people time. Effectively, these are the ones we've got available. The most common ones being feature fix, improve, and chore. Chore, don't feel afraid to use chore. It means that the code isn't changing in behavior from like a user perspective. You know, like that's the like You can also say refactor if it's very significant, but I'd say chore is very common in these early days where we're doing things that are really not related to the code at all and not related to CI.
Okay.
Just to highlight that because I see a lot of PRs coming from people who say fix as the default. The default really should be chore, and like we should the implied default should be chore, and then you should convince yourself that you're not doing a chore effectively, right? That's kind of my perspective because I often change people's titles to say in the future the reason for this is because we're going to automatically generate change logs, right? So I don't want it's not relevant right now for V1 V2, sorry, right, because V2 is just churning around a lot. But the reason we don't do the bracket commit area, oh, actually, I should remove this as an example. Oops. Okay, I need to remove that. Someone else can make that PR as well if they would like another PR. Also, that seems like a backtick shouldn't be there. Okay, that seems okay. Interesting. Okay, let's. I'll just show you what I mean. Just kind of housekeeping. So all of the PRs are now labeled appropriately. Should be. If they're not, please tell us. The bot should label it based off which branch you go into, based off area V1 and V2. So if you're reviewing V1 PRs, just click label V1. Very easy to find them all. If you're reviewing V2, click V2. And then the area is some mostly conceptually similar between V1 and V2, but obviously V1 for reference does co-locate some, so we have to double label things as front end and back end even when they might not be, because in V2 it's very clear there's a distinction from an app perspective, but for example, CRUD Web Apps includes both front end and back end, so the owner's label, sorry, the area label, it has to include both because we just don't know what you're really doing unless we got very
Okay.
technical. Because the problem is they're interspersed in a very painful way. Like they're sub. It's just madness. You know what I mean? And it's like, then what are these ones? And anyway, so we just treat the CRUD web app as a front end, back end, effectively, because it's what it is. In the end, it's a combined one container for both front end and back end in V1. Whereas V2, for people who don't know, is completely separate. I know I'm going a little bit into the weeds here, but just for people who are contributing, it makes reviewing stuff a lot easier. So yeah, front and back and controller on V2. Anyway, okay. Anyone who's new want to say hi? I think we might have one or two new people. Okay, pro tip about the doc. Okay, so someone just commented you can't. So you should be able to comment, but there's a protective mechanism in place to prevent spam, which means that you have to be in this Kubeflow discuss group. So, and if you already are, make sure that the count that's visible in the top right is the one that has joined this group, and then wait a minute and then refresh your page. Cool. Okay. So anyone new want to say hi?
Hello.
Hey.
Sorry. Hi. I'm Divya. I'm new to Kubeflow. I was in Kubeflow discussion meeting and I was interested by the notebook. So Matthew contacted and it was really awesome. Like I have been exploring Kubeflow. I had a meeting with Andy, and he gave me a bit intro and also work around, and that was pretty cool. I was able to run it locally on my system and have been exploring a bit. So thanks a lot.
So hopefully that, out of interest, just we're going to be publishing something that's very similar to that guide, but maybe a little bit better. Is that did you have any problems running Notebooks V2? I assume you're meaning V2, right?
Uh, no, I think I ran the old one. I haven't
Okay.
run the V2 yet. He did that. Wait, let me just tell the name.
Okay, it's interesting that you ran V1. Okay, cool. Well, we should send you the V2 guide.
The tilt thing,
Hmm?
to run it locally. I have been still running it. The tilt thing that he did to actually
Oh,
make it
tilt.
easy
So
to
tilt would
start.
be V2. Tilt would be V2.
Okay,
It's good. As anyway,
yeah, it's
we'll
V2.
talk about
It's
it
V2.
later. That's fine. Anyway, welcome to the team. Hopefully you can we can find you some interesting stuff. Out of interest, are you more interested in doing back end or front end stuff?
Backend.
And are you also familiar with stuff like manifests?
Yes, I have.
Yeah. Like, because that's also a useful skill that a lot of people don't have. So it's useful if you have that experience using Kubernetes as a user almost, like it's helpful. Awesome. Welcome
Yes,
to the group.
I worked around that.
Yeah. So we mainly use these meetings and the Slack channel to discuss things that we're working on in the Kubeflow dash notebooks. So please make sure you join
Yes,
those.
I am in that. I
Awesome.
have introduced myself. that also.
Okay, cool. Okay, so one thing I want to add is that we do need to migrate to the new Zoom, just as a housekeeping thing. Um, so we have to do this before next week. The reason is because the other teams are they're always very aggressive. Oh, we should talk. Can you add that under Notebooks V2, Christian? Or we can talk about it sooner if you just have time to talk about it now. I'm happy to put it at the bottom here. I know a lot about Dere, and I would love to talk about it as well. But if you have a specific topic, maybe put some notes under it, and then we can talk about it. Okay. So uh, calendar Zoom. So this just means that everyone needs to know this, that the next meeting link will not be this one. Okay. So you'll get an invite. You won't get an invite. Okay. So what you're gonna have to do is the existing people who see this meeting will get a cancellation notice with a link to subscribe to the new one. I just want to highlight one thing. So if you go to community, so we need to fix this ordering as well. This is very confusing. But the community meetings are so uh okay. So you have to get a specific to get all the meetings, you can add the iCal as a remote uh um like link in your Google Calendar or whatever calendar you use. Or if say you wanted to, oh, you could click off this. This is problematic. Good job, everyone. Okay. The You can subscribe to a specific meeting, get invited to it directly by clicking it and then clicking register. And this may not work because I'm an admin. Oh, it does. Okay. So and then you add your normal email, whatever email you want to be invited here, and you'll get an invite, and you'll also get updates when the meeting changes. So for example, probably we won't cancel next week's meeting at this time, but we will cancel the one after that. So it's also just reminding people, we'll tag people in the Slack as well, but next week, if you try and come to this meeting, it won't work. So uh actually, it might work, so I need to delete the calendar. Actually, let me just remember to do that. So, to do.
But generally, will the Google Calendar link that was imported before still be working in the future?
No. So that one was gonna.
Okay. Thanks.
So that one will slowly drop off all the meetings from it. See what I'm saying? So like, I'm deleting meetings as teams migrate to the new one. So, so this one down the bottom here you're talking about, right? No, actually, technically, we might still. Oh, interesting. You can iframe. We might need to fix that. But this is kind of a messy. But interesting. Anyway, so these ones down here, right now they're anyway. This will stop working, yes. And so there's three ways that people used to get the meetings. One is going to this four maybe going to this website, clicking the link every time, going and copying the event to their calendar. That's bad because it means you don't get updates or cancellation notices. They also sometimes just got them automatically somehow by being in Kubeflow Discuss, but that kind of doesn't work as the Kubeflow Discuss got more than 5,000 members, I think. And so additionally, the CNCF has this new tool, which is great, which automatically records and uploads the meetings to YouTube. Well, we have to approve them first, but it's great. It also blocks bots and so many other great things. So the steps here, I just want to highlight them. I don't want to waste too much time on this. Calendar, cancel old meeting in old community calendar, send updates, update telling people in Kubeflow notebooks. What's the other one? And then also Matthew, cancel the old Zoom link so it does not work. Or possibly put a note in it saying that you need, like put a meeting room note, waiting room note. That's probably the better way to do it so that people join and then get told they can't join and they should go to a different one. Okay. Anyone else got anything they want to add about that? Okay, cool. Meetings over the holidays. I think we talked about it in another meeting, and I think most of them are going to be still happening if people want to come to them. I won't be able to come for the next couple weeks. I'm going to be in a very problematic time zone to access this meeting, but the There should be other leads here to do it, but obviously the one on Christmas and the one on New Year's, because actually both of those Thursdays are New Year's and Christmas, won't be having meetings, but we will cancel them in the new calendar so that it's clear, just so people know.
Hello.
Hey.
I just want to say that I was working on the new issue which was assigned by Andy to me, and I will submit the. I have worked. The PR is completely made. I will just uh, put it today by today for the review.
Which project is that for?
It was for version 2, and it was for the direct control by the administration.
Okay, let's
We,
talk about.
we have to give it to users.
Do you need to go? Is that what you're saying? Or we can talk about that in the V2 section if you want. Let's.
Can
Yeah.
you repeat?
Do you needing to drop? Is that what you're saying? Or do you
No,
need...
no, I was just saying that, that the PR is completed. I will just submit it by today for the review.
Okay, cool. Yeah, share that in your update in the V2 section. Let's quickly move on to Christian just in case he needs to go somewhere. What did you is we don't probably let's not talk about this too much right now unless you have a specific proposal. But what specifically are you thinking?
I don't need to go anytime soon. It's just that I happen to be here today, so I thought it might be a good time to bring it up. The thing is that I noticed, and I can just state that for the notebooks that are running on our clusters, most of them are not like utilizing the GPU most of the time. So I thought it would maybe be a good fit for like the dynamic resource usage, and thought that maybe there is some yeah integration of that already part in Kubeflow. So I asked in Slack, got no response, and so I wanted to check here whether others are maybe already doing something in that regard, or this is still to be.
So DRA is not specific to GPUs or even anything about resource usage. DRA is the new way of requesting devices, but capabilities, I think, is the better, more precise way of saying it in Kubernetes. Yes, Notebooks V2. I don't think we're going to plan to support it in V1 just because it's conceptually very painful to do in V1 for various reasons. In V2, it should be relatively straightforward because we have these pod configs, which in fact they may no they don't currently have resource claims, but we should add that. In fact, so like the primary support integration will happen in V2 with adding resource claim ooh. Yeah, this is more complicated. It depends on how it's being used. So resource claim slash resource claim mounts to the pod config values, but we do need to discuss how best to have admins create the options. Yeah, and so every company is kind of using DRA in a very different way. I've seen some pretty crazy stuff going on with even CPUs being allocated with DRA. So, like, it's even if we just focus on the NVIDIA problem, like let's definitely at least support resource claims being mounted. But definitely, if you want to look at V2, Christian, and have some proposals, like that would be very helpful.
Yeah, so I think my question is mainly one of the current status. I think you mostly answered that, given the fact that this is still to be implemented. And the additional one is like the next entry point. So where is the easiest way for me to propose something, discuss, design?
My perspective on contributions is that you should contribute something either if you just want to be a maintainer, help maintain the project. So that would be like a proposal for like more generic solution. If you have that the exact thing you said around like resource utilization, right? So that is something we are talking about for V2. So if that's something that is, because technically resource utilization is not related to DRA really in any way. So with the exception of maybe MIGs if you want to use MIGs, right? The discussion we had previously, I don't want to go too long on this, but the discussion we had previously is that resource utilization is almost entirely separate to notebooks, but we do want to facilitate it. But it's more likely to be because you need to export metrics effectively from the GPU, make a decision somewhere about it, and then take some action, right? About maybe pausing the notebook or something like that. V2 already has culling features though, so it's an interesting. So we should talk, I think maybe offline, about what you want to do the most. If you've got experience with Go and controllers and things like that, then definitely we should have a proposal just to make sure that we're aligned with how DRA does resource allocation in V2. Right now we just ported the pod templates from old note, like just for people who don't know what we're talking about. V2 primarily is this CRD structure here. So admins create, this folder structure will be better soon, but there's a samples folder here. Primarily admins create workspace kinds, which are like Jupyter, VS Code, other things like that. And then they create options for their users, one of which is an image, but the other of which is a pod config. This is obviously where resource claims should be, but resource claim mounts, it's probably more resource claim template. And then, because if you've looked at DRA's specs, they treat devices as capabilities, and then you mount those capabilities as volumes, and then they affect scheduling, and then they mount to the container. Anyway, the point is, we should have a story here. So if you want to help by just like proposing that and writing it up as like, okay, let's make sure that we like just why this is the naive approach is just to add a resource claim template mounts here, right? Not under resources because that's already there, but to add a new one, right?
I mean, there's a good chance that using DRA is actually not the right solution for the problem that I'm facing. But I can maybe start out with like formalizing the issue at hand and what I want to solve, and then maybe reapproach you or others in.
Yeah, that's probably good. So I don't think it's about, because DRA needs to be supported either way, but strictly speaking, DRA is going to be backwards compatible with the GPU operator, right? Because I won't speak for other NVIDIA teams, but like my understanding is that once it's completely feature parity, the goal would be to not need the GPU operator. I don't think it will ever go away, but like DRA driver is now, as of 136 or 5, able to answer these old resource requests as well, so that you only need to have one on the cluster. I believe that's shipped, but I don't know if it's supported in Kubernetes until 135 or 6. I forget which one it got. Anyway, so thanks for that. So having a user problem discussion is probably the most valuable thing, so that we can solve your problem in potentially a way that you're not expecting as well, right? And also you can help us solve it, obviously. But I suspect what you're going to need for resource utilization is already going to be supported in culling, but maybe we should evaluate if it's as easy as it should be,
Yeah, sure.
All I know is resource utilization and governance is really hard. I operate a lot of ridiculously large clusters with many hundreds of thousands of GPUs, and and users do crazy things. So okay, let's move on. So dashboard repo. So I don't know if anyone's done any big work on this so far. Anyone have any updates from the dashboard repo? Then we should move on. If not, the current plan it relates to the v1.11 release. We're not going to be releasing a new one in time for the 1.11 Kubeflow release, but we will be in time for the Kubeflow is going to use versions that use calendar dates going forward next year. So 2603, we will have a new dashboard and notebooks v1 release, and also v2 hopefully. So, but it'll be an optional component. You can pick between v1 and v2 for notebooks, or you can just use both, I guess, as well. Anyway, so dashboard. Anyone had any tasks or blockers happening here that we need to talk about? We still need to create a first release, but I think there is some improvements that still need to happen. Okay, if not, v1. Where are we on this? I know that we did a lot of updates. I think we did that one as well, actually, already. So I saw lots of PRs. Is Paulo here or someone? Maybe they're muted.
Hey.
Okay.
Yeah, do you want to know about the V1 PRs?
Not the V1 PRs, just like what's the status on like how are we going with getting to again, we don't have to get a release out before the end of the year, but just how are we going for getting a release with lots of patches and I think we talked about it in the other meetings, but like not cutting a release straight away, but for people's information, you know, we've obviously done massive security updates and we're doing lots more. And we're obviously going to rebuild the example notebook images again with latest PyTorch and CUDA and whatever else. But that will come out of the V1 branch. So Paulo, what's the status on that to get to release?
Yeah, we do have several open. I believe Andy was reviewing them. So once he joins, he'll probably ask for merge a few of them.
Cool.
But I don't know the
do
details on each one.
Do you need help? Do you need people supporting you, or have we got enough?
Probably need to talk to Andy about it.
Okay.
He's the one.
Is it Liab that's organizing the Red Hat team on that side?
Yeah, he does. Okay. And he did a sync with Andy. That's why I was mentioning him.
Okay,
because Liab is not on the call today. Yeah.
So if people are for context, we're in general not adding new features to V1. We're fixing bugs and security issues. If you do know about issues, we've obviously done a lot of very big. We've updated the major versions of all the dependent runtime languages like Go and Node and Python. But if you have yeah, so if you're a user of V1, obviously, and you don't intend to move to V2 immediately, which obviously makes sense, you should review things that we're doing here just to confirm that everything's happy. Not in terms of using it yet, that'll come once we cut a release candidate, but in helping out with vulnerabilities and stuff. So I just wanted to highlight that to people. Any other updates on V1? So I guess the next step is just to keep going through those pull requests that do CVE squashing and anything else. Oh, and also eventually make a new notebook server images, but that will be just before we cut the release. Okay. V2. Okay. So lots of stuff happening here, I'm sure. My understanding is that so obviously our goals right now they're not in terms of sequential priorities, but they're just goal priorities. So I'll just highlight them each one. Priority V1, priority 1 is be able to deploy it, and that includes mainly as a developer, but also just so that we can have end users who are more advanced trying it out, even if it's not in a fully ready state. So the goal was to be deployable end to end, production release process, these kind of things, but not actually release. And then start the next step, which was some of these other refactors around manifest standardization, because the only one component is weird right now. We probably need to add this warning banner in the front end so that if people do deploy it, they realize they're using an alpha product. Obviously, the wiki page is almost done, and we'll be, especially now that other stuff is more mature, we'll be able to publish that soon and add it as a README. I think we talked about having information up here so that we can be. It's not relevant quite yet, but once we make a release, we want to be clear about what features are alpha, beta, and GA in the tool itself, so that we can have pieces of the app that are finished or stable and other pieces that are not, from a user perspective. Anyone got any specific updates about this? I know that Andy has some PRs that are going to merge here for Tilt, which is like a dev environment, which would be very helpful for everyone here, I think, which lets you make changes locally and automatically deploy them to a test cluster without having to build images and things like that. It's just like when you're on a website development, you change some code in a local folder and it immediately shows in your browser. It's similar to that, except for the whole of Kubeflow Notebooks 2.0. It's pretty cool. Obviously the manifests guide. The manifests are in there already. It is possible to do. It's just a guide to say, how do I deploy a specific commit? That's the other thing that he's working on, and we've pretty much finished. This is an interesting one. I do want to have a quick discussion if people have any thoughts about what we're going to do, because this is one of the next blockers after the end-to-end tests, which we've also already merged, I think, or maybe almost. This is a pretty close. This is the next kind of question that we haven't answered, which is right now, all of the notebook example images, meaning ones that we provide to show off what you can do with notebooks, are in the V1 branch and are like it works. They have a pretty complicated dependency tree. The makefiles work, but I think there's a chance that we should reevaluate making a new separate branch for this, versioning it separately, or maybe it could be in the V2 branch, who knows? But using a more industry standard cross-image dependency thing like Docker file bake or some other tooling. If anyone has any specific ideas, don't have to raise them now. Just please reach out in the Kubeflow-notebooks channel and we can think about it, because we don't want to make this a product. It's not like a piece of Kubeflow. It's a demo effectively, but we do want people to be able to fork that pattern and use it at their company to say add their own versions of things and help them generate the labels for Notebooks V2, because V2 has a lot of, you could add Python version labels so your users can more easily find them. So this whole, how do we generate the default example workspace kinds is the next big question here. Also, how we generate the example workspace kinds with option labels from the images, etc. Okay. Priority. Anyone got anything about Priority V1? Priority 1. Okay. I know this one, you've got something to talk about, Polo, I think. So this one is about making sure that the spike in the workspace-related front-end pages all connect to the back-end, all use mocked APIs, make it possible to create and update workspaces with the actual back-end doing the work. I know that this is the main one that's got a stub. So we've got a bunch of stub PRs, meaning that the back-end API doesn't fully work. But its API spec is standardized. Contract, if you will. Paulo, do you have any updates, or anyone else who's able to talk to that?
Yes, exactly. We have at least the secret PR. I know it's mergeable, but we do have several others. And then once they are merged, it will unblock a few draft PRs and open PRs that we have on the front end, like for the secrets, the icons and logos, and the update workspace. So once this merged, this will unlock those front end.
So which one is blocking you, other than the secret one, obviously? Is update workspace is probably the next one, right?
And the icons, yeah.
I think icons are pretty much done, but the problem is because it was a full implementation, we need to review it, I think, So this one's, I presume, not, is this blocking anything? I presume update is more important, right?
Yeah, it's important as well.
Yeah.
Just mentioning because we do have front-end PRs open for icons and logos as well that Charles worked with.
And are they based on that PR?
Updates as well. Yeah.
Okay.
Right, Charles? Please correct if I'm wrong, but
yeah, I do have a PR open and making some minor changes based on the conversation I just had with Andy this morning.
Cool. I just always want to highlight for everyone making front-end PRs, just as a matter of policy, just so that we don't forget things and so that we highlight that information is available to the user so they can make suggestions, that we should always use every field in the backend, even if it looks ridiculous and we don't have a way to use it right now, or we should drop that field from the backend. So, for example, in the volumes stub, meaning the PVC information, there's going to be a lot of fields that tell you about things like which nodes are in use, like Kubernetes nodes. And so we should put that in, at worst, just a tooltip, I just want to highlight that for everyone. I know everyone's aligned on that. I'm just highlighting it for new people. If you're making front-end PRs, always use every field in the backend somewhere in the UI. Doesn't have to be on the same page. Okay. Anything else that so what's the next blockers here? So I know that other than merging these PRs, are people able to work on what are people not able to work on as a result of something not having been done?
As far as I know, the only blockers are regarding the stub PRs.
So you mean creating new ones? Because presumably they can use the stub as it currently stands, right?
Yeah, but we do have a lot of PRs open, and then it's going to start to get conflict, and it's going to start to generate some work
Yeah,
that
I agree.
wouldn't exist with merge. Yeah. My worry is to get that we have a lot of PRs that get older, and it's hard to reuse them.
Yep, makes sense. Also, I just also want to highlight one thing I forgot to say before. In the cleanup of our V2 branch, if you end up swapping between V1 and V2, it's probably more of a problem for me and other leads. But we fixed a bug in KubeBuilder, which was causing the when you do a make build in the backend and controller, it was making these unwritable files that would break Git's ability to swap cleanly between the branches. We'll PR it into upstream KubeBuilder as well, but effectively the hack for people. So you should rebase, is what I'm saying, all your PRs if you want to have this benefit, or just wait until your PRs naturally start using the new base. It only affects you from a developer, not an end user, not an actual code perspective. But what we did is made it so that when we download the issue came from setting up the env test, I believe. So it was somewhere here, chmod. So yeah, the issue is env test. For some reason, it's kind of not clear why. Anyway, it's probably not necessary, but that's probably where we should actually fix it. So probably that's where we'll put the PR actually. Right now, it just makes these files as unwritable by even yourself. So it means that Git can't remove the files unless you chmod, which is really terrible experience for swapping between branches. So we fixed that by just doing this. Cool. So for priority V2, so I really obviously want to make sure that what's the next steps after this, I guess, or not? So let's say we merged all these stubs. Obviously, we need to implement those stubs, I guess. Or is that actually the next best step or not, do you think, Below? Probably not. It is probably keeping on with more stubs, right?
Yeah, for the backend, I would say having more stubs, so it doesn't block the front end work. But after that, we would need to implement the real backend, and then the front end can keep using those APIs as we go.
Cool. Okay. So yeah, we're gonna keep merging these ones. I know Volumes has a design. So thinking about it over the next 3 weeks though. So for a lot of people, they're not going to be working as much, or they might be working more. So for the people who are willing to do work over this period or want to do work, then we should make sure that they're not blocked, I think, right?
Yeah, I was looking into that earlier today, and from the Red Hat team, most people that's going to work during the holidays are front end. So that's why I pushing for the stubs being merged, so they are not unblocked.
So so since it's a period of time where they can build a big PR, probably, how many are we talking about? Like 2, 3 people? And then do we have areas of work for them?
Yeah, I think 2 or 3 people, I guess.
So like
using
what would that be?
those stubs would be,
because if the stub
it's not.
Yeah.
It's not that they will work full time.
I get it.
Have the holiday, but yeah, using the stub should be enough work.
I'm just wondering, like, because the volume one might be enough. Is that what you're saying? Because the volume one can actually have a whole new page as well, right? That's quite a big thing. Like
Yeah.
actually secrets and volumes, that's actually probably that's something that we could actually have as a holiday task for front end devs. Again, probably we do want to design it first. I don't want people just going and building the page without having a design, but we will in the sidebar, similar to how we have workspaces and workspace kinds, we'll obviously have secrets and volumes as well, right? Just because you don't but it needs to use the backend API, which has a lot of rules around you can't update ones that are already that are not owned by notebooks, and we have labels and things that manage that, see workspace visible and stuff. I think it's better than that. I think it's changed now, but so is that something, or is there a more priority? Is there more pressing tasks that even than that I'm missing?
I think to unlock the current PRs is the secret stub and the update workspace stub, and then the volumes and
let's say those
icons
got merged,
after.
right? So once those are merged, presumably the front end already has PRs that will be merged immediately. Is there iteration that will happen there, or are we going to is there a period where until we have more stubs they can't do anything, so they should use the existing stubs on the 2 pages that we know are going to need to exist?
I don't know how much time it will take to adapt the current PRs to the after the PR is merged. Should be fast. But
It's probably about designing it though, right? That page probably has a different design pattern to it's probably similar to the old one, but
you mean the volumes or?
well, volumes is we never had a secret one, but yeah, volumes, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
hmm.
we did discuss a lot of details in a past meeting that weren't covered in the prototype I showed you, but we could have like a first version and iterate on it as we go. I think it worked well in the past when we started doing the front end for the workspace lists and creation of workspace. Then we can once we have the final APIs going out, we can adapt the front end fast to work with them. Like if we decide to do more stuff with the volumes, like calling the creation during the workspace creation and stuff like that, we can adapt the front end to do that after.
Yep. Okay. Cool. Let's move on. Is there anything else anyone wants to talk about here? I know logs and events are quite complex, but so I think these stub PRs are in progress. This PR is that's already been done, right? The connect service parts, or has it not? Yeah, it has, right? Yeah. Final PR, like full. I'm gonna say full PR is ready for review. Okay. This one's actually is ready for review. This one is being designed, not raised yet. Okay. So there's an architecture document for the volume one because it's quite complex. Okay, anyone else got things out this section? I'm going, oh, actually, updates and restarts. This is something that we do need to think about. Not update as in that, sorry. Restarts are an interesting one, right? So applying oh, actually, that's really important. We should, where's that? We do need to do that work. I'm going to put it under need to think about the story for applying redirects. Need to stop the controller automatically applying redirects as we have decided to use the front end to do this now. So this applying redirects page, I know we had some things before, but maybe that's something we could revisit around the front end for that as well, right? The like restarting and also need to think about how restart workspace flow will look and behave. E.g., is it just a pause, then the user waits for it to be paused and starts it again? Or is there actually a restart button?
I have a question in that regard.
Yep, go.
So the thing there is there a mechanic for notebooks to actually be paused, or can they just be like stopped and started again? Like can we freeze the runtime state in some way and preserve it?
So this is a discussion that we've had. I don't want to derail the meeting too much, architecturally that is impossible right now with Kubernetes. Um, so pausing from a user perspective, in my mind, um, I can. I'm free to feel free to disagree with me. My perspective. So right now you can pause in the sense that you don't have to delete your notebook, right? You can pause it, and that will just scale the replicas to 0 effectively, right? Uh, but there is it from a security and C groups and process names, but like Linux perspective, again, Kubernetes just manages containers, and containers run on Linux. Um, there is no specific. So the thing that I view as the thing that users want to keep is actually their slash root volume state, not necessarily their process state, because that's impossible to really know what's going on there, right? Because the IDE itself is also running in the pod. So, my perspective is from a technical perspective, a running container can be snapshotted and persisted somewhere, and then also duplicated as a result of this. So the way that you would have to do this though is Docker in Kubernetes. So that was kind of the proposal that we were thinking, which is finding a way to make the base pod actually if preferably non-root. Not it might need some capabilities. Yes, it will definitely need some capabilities, but not root necessarily. Docker runtime, and then that is then told to pull the actual notebook IDE image and expose it with port forwards in the container. And then when the user goes to pause or duplicate, what actually happens is we tell that runtime to commit the current squashfs or overlayfs state of its slash mount, because like a container has its own, for lack of a better word, file system at slash that it sees as its OS. And so for a lot of people, when they pip install things, that's actually the thing they care about, persisting that state.
Yeah, that's kind of the question that also came up quite a few times for us, because when you do like cluster upgrades and such, you kind of need to inform people that they need to take care themselves of preserving that state. And yeah, therefore I wondered whether there's already some solution, but this sounds like technically there could be, but all the suggestions right now are rather vague or wild to implement.
Yeah, so the problem that you stated, again, this is why it's nice to always think about it from like an actual end user perspective. In the real world, their issue really is this, that Kubernetes abstracts hardware and users actually care about the hardware, right? So I am allocating a node to myself, like I care about I'm running a pod, sure, but I don't care that it's a pod. I just care that I've got my GPUs and my memory and my CPUs, right? And so if the node underneath me restarts and kills my pod, it's a problem for me because my processes end, but it's also a problem because even if the pod restarts on a different node with the same capabilities, um, A, it's less of a problem in Cloud Vendor Kubernetes, but my local storage scratch space might be gone, but that's beside the point. But also, my notebook won't restart running what it was doing, So it's not like a job, right?
But would it also be a solution to maybe have more of the data in a mounted volume? So far, I didn't figure out any way to actually do this, but that would be persistent besides the actual pod.
So people already do this. The issue you're going to run into is that network storage is very slow in most environments. With the exception of stuff like Lustre, which is pretty common in HPC environments, but relatively uncommon in old-fashioned Kubernetes. NFS is very slow. Cloud providers, I don't want to talk about it too much because it's kind of going into the weeds, but like cloud providers are able to do some magic because a lot of them are pretty experienced with what's called RDMA, remote direct memory access. So they can actually create racks of servers that are just storage servers that sit in the same kind of spine in the data center as the Kubernetes instance ones. And then you can create something that approximates a local disk being plugged into the VM that runs the Kubernetes node. and then the only requirement is that it can only be mounted to one host at a time. So that's how you end up with those like in GKE and Amazon EKS what's called read-write once volumes that are faster than NFS could ever be. They're actually RDMA network addressable mountable drives, and so those already work. Those, like EBS for example, is that in most cases. It's not always that, but in most cases on Amazon, and I think FileStore, no, FileStore or something else. I forget what it's called in drives. I don't know. So I forget what it's called in Google, but those are already there. But the one thing we did talk about, actually this is something we did talk about. Let me add this, but you can already do it, but we need to explain it to people, is that adding requests for local storage here is important as well. That's more scratch space though. But let's think about it from your user perspective, Christian, and definitely keep discussing this.
Sure. Yeah. My goal is definitely not to derail this meeting in any ways. I'm happy to be pointed to other resources or meetings or even offline conversations on Slack. I just want to throw in every now and then an idea that I have for a problem.
Well, again, the feature makes, like, from a user perspective, the feature makes a lot of sense. Kubernetes gets in the way quite a lot here, right? You know what I mean? Like, this is
that's the usual way.
Yeah, right. So it's like finding a way that, because again, our goal with notebooks is to be the IDE layer for everyone for provisioning interactive development environments, and then in the future also provisioning access to cluster resources that are actually things like Slime clusters and Ray clusters, and that are maybe running on the same cluster, might not be, and also Spark clusters, right? So yeah, so and MPI meshes, and because like in the end, as clusters start becoming more about these disaggregated like GB200, GB300, and Vera Rubin, like these rack scale and data center scale systems, really play with what a node is, right? Like they're more. It's more about the mesh of GPUs than it is, or other devices than it is, or TPUs even, than it is about any particular node. So I suspect in the future the primary notebook server won't actually have a GPU. For example, it won't be useful because you won't be able to do anything with a single GPU, and that you might have a GPU only so much as it connects you to the NVLink mesh on the main host to retrieve your results quickly, right? Whereas you might have 10 trays of a GB200 be your 10 times 4, 40 GPU mesh that you can submit on a RAID job to. And then so from a notebook perspective, doing that interactively is the thing that we want to enable. In addition to all the old use cases where you just need 2 GPUs, 4 GPUs, 8 GPUs on a single HGX system, But yes, let's keep talking about it.
Lots of things to explore.
Yeah, this is the goal. Okay, cool. So priority 3, I don't think Hashad is here, or maybe he is. He joined. So we've only got 1 minute left, but Istio integration. I think we need to rename the priority, but oh no, technically this is still Istio with SSH. Do we have any progress on the SSH, or you did culling, right?
Yeah, for now we have pivoted a little bit to the culling, so that because of the end of the year and holidays, we thought we'll start with that and then get back to the SSH one next. So right now we are on culling and we are trying to do the designing. There are some proposals and that's what we are finding, or at least getting to that. And I'll update that information also in the GitHub issue so that others can also see. But as of now, that's what we are working on. And just for others who are new, we had integrated Istio into the controller. So right now, with whatever the version is in V2 development, you could use Istio to work through that. And the next step which Matthew is highlighting is to have the SSH connection also, so that users can connect to their workspaces directly through SSH. So that's the next bit which we are trying to address. So we are the next step would be to have some discussions and design and then work through that. So that's where we are at right now.
Complex, right? This is security perspective is the question. I think there's many different approaches we could take, but the end result needs to be that. Especially with the discussion we just had, if the notebook just becomes what is ostensibly a login node, to a Slurm cluster, it's critical that you can SSH from your home thing. Also, a lot of it's just easier in a lot of ways, right? And then so the question is how to do it securely. The problem space is that, obviously SSH is a TCP layer protocol. It doesn't include TCP doesn't, but whereas Istio is mainly operating in L7 from a networking layer stack, meaning it's routing based off HTTP headers. Various companies have made various router-based things. You could do it with authorized keys. You can also do it based off. I think Cloudflare has their own, well, tunnels, yes, but there's also another third one, which is that they have their own kind of router-based. When you try and SSH, it forces you to log in on like your browser. It's kind of interesting. But anyway, so obviously the end result is going to have to be a TCP layer routing flow. Whether that goes, how that works with Istio is the question, I guess, if it works at all. So the user will have to connect to if we use Istio, the gateway on a TCP port that doesn't have HTTP, and then somehow find their way to the correct notebook pod securely. And then also we need to provision their access into the pod so that their SSH keys there, right? So,
Yeah, a lot of things to uncover.
and
Yeah.
make it so they can't break their ability to SSH. You know what I mean? We might need to run a sidecar container. Like it's really kind of unclear the best way to do it. Because SSHing into a Kubernetes pod is kind of in itself kind of interesting. Because it requires SSHD to be running on the pod, right? Which again, we can do. It's just, yeah. Anyway, if people have ideas about this, please comment in the here or in the Slack. Reach out to Shad. So the culling one is not technically under this, but we're 3 minutes over. But so I guess are we almost ready to raise the design doc for that somewhere publicly, or?
Yeah. I think I just discussed, and I'll put that into that issue so that it's available for everyone.
Yep. Cool.
I've also linked it in my update, so you'll see that there. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, sorry, I forgot about this part. Let's quickly go through it. Sorry for everyone who I missed. Jenny?
Yep. So yeah, just again, the create secret model that's currently blocked by the secret API stub work. So yeah, that's ready. That's going to be ready for rebase, and just adding all of those additional field inputs once that secrets API stub gets merged. And then other than that, just internal tasks, and then continued theming support and maintenance.
Mm-hmm. Anything else blocking you or anything?
No blockers, no.
Okay, cool.
Except yeah, just that API stub work. Yep.
And so for the secret model, this is within the this create workflow, not on the side. But I guess that's a question for you guys as well. Like, not right now, but when we do design it, we do need that sidebar page planned out for volumes and secrets as well. But yes. Oh, Andy's here. Hello, Andy.
Sorry, I just got here. I have been aggressively, privately de-scoping the sidebar for the time being just to focus on what priority 2 is right now. So do not disagree with you, but I've been kind of encouraging people to stay within priority 2 while emphasizing that modularity to make the menu a thing, but let's not spend cycles on that while we still work on the basic flows that we've outlined.
Cool. Yep. My main thought was just if people over the holidays end up not having tasks to do, they could think about maybe the secret one or the volume one. But yeah, it's just, if not, then that's great. I'll make sure that you guys can prioritize your work. Let's continue. So Shad's already talked about it. We just talked about what he was working on. Paulo, I guess you've reviewed some stuff. Anything you want to add here? Cypress tests?
Nope, just added a note of the review.
Cool. Anything that's blocking you other than what we talked about with the secret stub and things?
No, not currently.
Cool. Okay. Who else hasn't gone? Guilherme?
Yeah, so from my side, I was able to validate the workspace update API stub from the other branch that you guys worked on, and I created I created a new PR on top of those commits with the front end part. So I'm just waiting for that PR to get merged, and then I will rebase mine and finish the work.
So did the validation part make it? Is the validation part coming into this, or did that already get merged, Andy?
Yep, that's already in.
Oh, cool, awesome. So yeah, this is just update now. That's great. And I guess this isn't quite ready for some reason, or
Well, it is, but we want to get the secrets, or sorry, the workspace update API stub isn't there. The one piece, like it's not going to affect Guillerme's testing, but we really want the secret stub API PR merged to give us those common audit objects that then I can apply to the workspace update API. So
Mhm.
yeah.
In the front end, we do reference the backend Swagger JSON. So that's why it's blocked. We don't want to put in like a invalid commit hash, and then wouldn't be able to find the Swagger JSON and would throw a bunch of error basically. That's why it's blocked, and we don't want to review it yet. In case there's some like issues when we merge the branches together.
Cool. So that one is blocked by so
The
Jeremy,
secrets.
you're blocked indirectly by getting the no, is it Jeremy that's blocked?
Charles and Jenny are blocked by secret stub API. Guillermo is blocked on workspace update API, but then the workspace update API itself is blocked on secret stub, so we can make sure all those models align. Or I can branch off a branch. I just didn't do that. We gotta it's just hard. We don't have enough time, right? But it's like we really need to try to get these like stubs in sooner, but I don't know where that time comes from, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, the only reason it didn't happen last week is because we ended up doing a lot of V1 stuff done.
Somewhat, it's just the V1 and release stuff has been very time consuming, right? Which we had to address that first. I totally get it. But yeah, that's kind of, I feel like my personal opinion why we're here.
Yeah, it's always the way. Like open source sometimes takes longer because there's stuff going on. There's a community to deal with. Okay, Charles, I think did you not go? Or, yeah, yeah.
So yeah, on top of what Andy just said, I also was working on the logos and icons rendering and caching in the browser. So that's going on. We had some discussion this morning, and that is gonna push things forward. Hopefully, I'll be done by the end of this week. And Tall, a UX designer from our side, also worked on some low fidelity mockup for attach existing volumes into workspace when you're trying to create workspace. But we can probably bring that up a little bit later since yeah I don't want to introduce more topics on top of what we already have.
Mm-hmm. Anyone else that wants to talk, or do you have anything else to add, Charles?
No, that's all.
Okay. Anyone got anything else they blocked by or need to highlight before we stop the recording? So normally what we'll do after the meeting is we'll do some pull request reviews to try and get the ones that are blocking people merged. Any other final comments? Oh yeah, as I say it one more time, we're going to migrate the calendar today for next week to the new LFX one. So if you try and join this one, it won't work. You should receive we won't receive the new invite, but you will receive a link in the cancellation to go to the new one. You need to go to the community page, either add the whole calendar for LFX or click the register button. So you click there, we should probably improve this. And you click, we need to create the meeting. You click register, and this is how you get an invite to your email personally, and then you can get that one only if you would like, or you can get all of them if you want to add just the iCal to your thing. Anyone else finally going once? Going twice? Thanks, everyone.